Good evening, everyone. We're going to call to order this regular board meeting for October 21st, Caledonia Community Schools. If you could all rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a couple of quick things before we go any further. If you are here for public comment, we do ask that you fill out one of these cards. If you didn't get one, they are out in the hallway there. If you could please turn them in to Kelly in the back, she will get them to us. I ask that you have these turned in before we start our public comment, that way we can move through. I will call first person up to speak, next person on deck, and so on, so you will hear first names listed at that point. You will see on the back that there is some information about public comment. You do have 3 minutes to speak. You can speak to the entire board, please. We ask at this time that you do not bring up personnel issues or specific student issues, as we can help you deal with those rather than have those be at a recorded public meeting. Can we please move on to roll call?
Brandau.
Here.
Isich here, Morris,
Here.
Nichols,
Here.
Sadu.
Here.
White.
Here. Thank you. Next, we have our student representative, Erin.
Good evening. So first things first, Student Council is hosting its annual Fright Night next Tuesday, October 29th. It is a haunted trail and we will be providing trick-or-treating from 5:45 till 6:30 and then scaring from 7 o'clock till 9:30. It is located at the high school science trail behind the North Lower Forum Room. And lastly, I would like to address something that has been brought up to me by students as well as staff. So I would like to draw attention to the policy regarding high school seminars. The current guideline stating the Board of Education will not permit the use of school facilities by student clubs during instructional hours was last revised in 2020, but only enforced at the beginning of the 2024 school year. This change has left many clubs struggling to find ways to meet. Holding meetings before or after school creates challenges related to transportation and other student life activities. Many students have limited control over their morning drop-off times and their after-school transportation, which can prevent them from attending club meetings. Moreover, after-school meetings can be problematic since many club members as well as advisors are involved in sports, making it difficult to host or attend club activities throughout the season. For advisors who coach sports, seminar periods are often the only time available for them to lead meetings. While education is a top priority for everyone, the issue has been acknowledged. Advisors do not mandate meetings, and the teachers often prioritize educational needs over club requests to ensure the best outcome for students. Many students who are involved in these clubs do not require additional academic support. Instead, they use seminars to engage more actively with the school community. With the current policy in place, these students find themselves with limited opportunities for involvement and downtime during seminar period. Educational platforms like Khan Academy, which is recommended for only 10 to 20 minutes a day, does not provide adequate engagement, especially when seminar time is not structured for productive use. On behalf of the student body, I urge you to reconsider this policy to enhance student participation in clubs and foster a more enriching school experience for everyone. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, we are going to go on to public comment. First, I have Christina, followed by Marcy, and then Audrey.
Evening, everyone. I tried my best to shorten my speech to 3 minutes. And shortening it a little bit more since I've been here. Good evening again. My name is Christina Donaldson, and I come before you, I believe, for the fourth time in the last 2 years. And I'm here regarding my son Daniel and students overall as an advocate. My son has been a part of this district since 2017 and is now a sophomore at Caledonia High School. My student has an IEP and he is in special education, and his education has been significantly impacted by the effects and what I believe the changes that have come from the pandemic, and a lot of the statistics that show and continue to show the lasting effects in education and how education is being taught across the nation. I'm here as an advocate not only for my student, but for others as well, and for review and policy and how the district is servicing students' needs, especially those with individualized education plans and special needs. Today I come to you with concerns. I come to you with concerns. At the beginning of the year, my son was bullied on the bus as a nonverbal student with an incident that was reported by another student to the bus driver, which I'm very grateful for. However, without my intervention or advocacy, this incident would not have been reported to either transportation or the school, which shows that there should be a review and policy when it comes to making sure that things are being done effectively for all students to make sure that they are safe getting to and from school. I was recently informed that my nonverbal student was sitting in a elective classroom for several weeks without being able to participate with his general ed peers. When I asked my son what it is that he does during that time, and he points to his eyes and he looked at his chair and said that I have to sit there and watch everyone else participate. This lets me know that there needs to be further support for this student and others that have special needs in particular classrooms. And this type of support has been requested on numerous times, but we have yet to have the support within the classrooms. I am seeking that the district take these matters into consideration and require action and accountability to ensure that better educational quality for students while providing the necessary tools, resources, and accommodations to achieve the educational goals and preparing these children for success in school and in life. I do not have documentations to provide you all today, but I can forward that information if there's anyone that is looking to see any additional information regarding supporting students and supporting the whole student. Thank you for your time, and I pray and ask that you take these matters serious and take them into consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next we have Marcy, followed by Audrey, and then Diane.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here on behalf of the Caledonia Education Association, our local teachers union. And we've had a busy month connecting with our community, and we enjoyed seeing so many familiar faces of our students and families at the homecoming parade. Students from age 4 to 17 were cheering for their teachers, which was really sweet. It was heartwarming to see them get excited to see us out of school and in like a real life situation. We had students yelling for the I Love a Cal teacher, or a Caledonia teacher bracelet, and parents asking for the I Love Cal teacher card decals. It was just great to stop and chat with like families that have been in our district for years. It was great. The following day, we also participated in Harvest Festival, and we were visited by lots of students, Caledonia students and neighbors throughout the day. And we were able to chat with the families about their experiences in Cal schools, and they were able to share memories that they had of their early years all the way through graduation for some. We also asked current and past students to sign posters honoring and thanking teachers. We quickly filled up those 3 posters, and what we're doing with them is we're taking them to different teachers' lounges throughout the month, and the teachers can just look and see how they're being celebrated and how far their positive relationships have gone with kids. Another celebration from within our membership was that the teachers at Dutton participated in an optional PD about whole brain teaching, and they spent 1 day a week after school for 5 weeks learning about this amazing program. This has become a game changer for many of our classrooms, increasing student engagement, building student relationships, and strengthening our classroom communities. And lastly, an update about our screening process for the upcoming school board election in just a couple of weeks. So we reached out to all 4 of the candidates that are running, inviting them to participate in a short question and answer interview
with written questions and responses related to our school district and public education. We heard back from 3 of the candidates, with only 2 responding to our questions. We were able to share the information exactly as written with our membership. We look forward to all community members joining us in exercising our right to vote this coming election day. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Audrey, followed by Diane, and then Crystal.
Hey, it's such an honor to be here. I'm Audrey Barker. I have worn many hats in the Caledonia community, including as a PTO volunteer, a Girl Scout leader, a robotics coach, a STEAM night coordinator, and many others. I'm also a librarian, and I have been appointed to the state board by Governor Whitmer to represent public libraries in Michigan. So I'm here to talk about potential book bans. So small kids play house as a way to make sense of their world. Similarly, people of all ages who see themselves and their lives represented in books, it helps them make sense of their world. A person who chooses to read a book that helps make sense, a person who chooses to read a book that has few, if any, similarities with their life gains so much, including understanding, empathy, and a growing ability to relate to the wider world. Books are windows and mirrors. The facts are clear that the more books that are kept away from teens, the less they learn. The less mirrors they see themselves in and windows they can look through, the more blind they will be. Keeping topics of race, inequalities, discrimination, and various abilities and circumstances from students leaves them unprepared for adulthood that they're just a few years away from. A kid may choose the book, for example, Always Running, not to mimic it, but because it helps them make sense of their world, or it prepares them with empathy and understanding, or it gives them a place of refuge. At the very least, it opens their eyes to a different life experience. Parents should and do have the opportunity to limit books they think their kids are not ready for. If a parent wants to limit a child's selection of reading materials, it's on that parent to pick which books the kids can pick from and provide them at their own homes. It is an opinion that any book should be banned from high schoolers' hands. Not a fact. Much like the variety of electives, sports, clubs, and activities our high school offers to appeal to teens' interests and curiosities, so should their books. Please do not limit the minority to be heard over the documented majority. It seems people have forgotten the difference between fact and opinion. It is fact that the First Amendment guarantees the right for people to read what they choose. You can get an opinion from your taxidermist, neighbor, or hairdresser, but please don't miss out on the facts. The fact that limiting books hurts a child's education is documented in so much research. The fact that an MLA poll in 2023 states that 83% of Michiganders support legislation that protects one's right to read. Can I have another 30 seconds?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate it. The fact that parents have the right to filter their child's choices also stands. But just because one person wants to remove that window or mirror does not mean it needs to be removed for all students. People like me have dedicated their entire lives to reading and the betterment of this community, not just the ones who fit the same mold as me. Caledonia community is far more educated than to even consider or entertain any ideas of book bans. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Diane, then Crystal, followed by Jen.
Hi, I want to say a few words about the contentious subject of book banning in the schools. I'm Diane Salinas, and for some context, I had 4 kids go through the Caledonia schools, twins, class of 2017, and class of 2020 and class of 2021, because we all know how fun those years were. To prepare for this meeting, I did a little of my own research, in quotes, because it is all anecdotal. Over the past few days, I have asked many young adults and teens about their experiences with books they have read through school. This includes my students at Davenport University, my own kids I tutor, and a handful of nieces and nephews. One student mentioned that the only book that ever caused her distress was Where the Red Fern Grows, which a teacher read to her 4th grade class. 2 others, including my own daughter, responded with Columbine. Oddly enough, neither of these books showed up on any banned book list I could find. Every child is different, and I would never attempt to predict what book would upset other people's children, and certainly wouldn't want other parents making that decision for my family. Everyone else I asked couldn't think of a single book they read during their K-12 years that they found unsettling or that made them uncomfortable. How sad. Uncomfortable is where we grow. Unsettling forces out of the bubble we or our parents created. This is where we find grit and where we find empathy. Another part of my research was calling a college friend who has spent the last 25 years as a school librarian. You're going to hear some similarities to what Audrey just said. My friend said children need books they can see themselves in and that also allow them to peek into other people's worlds. In the library world, we call this windows and mirrors. For example, regardless of one parent's view on transgender, those students also deserve to see themselves in print and realize they are not alone. I also found during the course of my research many references to groups demanding a change and that schools need to do better, and demands for policy change to make sure our kids are only receiving age-appropriate material. What I couldn't find was actual ideas for any of this to happen. I have very little patience for complaining without offering possible solutions. In what way do our schools need to do better? What changes do these people want to see? But on the flip side, I do respect a parent's right to decide what their child can or can't read. Perhaps Uncle Joe committed suicide last year and they don't want their 14-year-old reading a book that includes suicide. Fair enough. However, as you all know, there is already a policy in place. I'm also asking the board to please not fall for the current narratives I'm seeing all over the community Facebook pages, which are excellent examples of the straw man fallacy. When a board member claims they do not wish to ban any books, and a community member comes back with, "Oh, so you're fine with a book on how to build bombs being in the library?" This is a straw man fallacy. Don't fall for it. I would like to close with 2 quotes. Banning books gives us silence when we need speech. It closes our ears when we need to listen. It makes us blind when we need sight. Stephen Chbosky, author of The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And of course, a quote from my favorite book series of all time. "Oh, Harry, don't you see? If she could have done one thing to make absolutely sure that every single person in this school will read your interview, it was banning it." Hermione Granger, Order of the Phoenix. Thank you for your time. Sorry.
Thank you. Crystal, then Jen, then Brandy.
Hi, my name is Crystal Sadu, and I'm here actually to read a letter from the Michigan Association of School Libraries, President Carrie Betts. The Michigan Association of School Libraries believes in the transformative power of choice reading in our classrooms and libraries, and believes strongly that educators and school librarians play a vital role in selecting books for our students. We live in an age where the right to read and access to diverse literature is under scrutiny. This is why it's crucial that those who are trained and knowledgeable about literature, about students' developmental levels and interests, and about best practices for collection development, our educators and certified school librarians are the ones who select books for choice reading. The resolution adopted by the State Board of Education on June 13th, 2023 highlights this responsibility. It calls upon local school boards and educational institutions to protect students' rights to learn and the ability of educators and librarians to teach. This includes providing students with access to a wide array of books that reflect multiple viewpoints and perspectives. This is not just a matter of preference. It's a necessity for fostering an inclusive and equitable learning environment. Choice reading is a fundamental part of this process. It gives students the autonomy to select books that resonate with their interests and/or experiences. Importantly, choice reading also allows students the freedom to choose not to read a particular book and to find something that speaks to them instead. As the saying goes, for every book there is a reader, but not every book is for every reader. The governing boards of the Michigan Association of School Librarians, the Michigan Council of Teachers of English, and the Michigan Reading Association issued a joint statement that says, in part, we affirm students' rights to read and parents' and caregivers' rights to guide their students' choices. We also affirm the rights and responsibilities of school librarians, teachers, administrators, and school board members to offer books inclusive of the diversity found nationwide. In a partnership with parents and caregivers, administrators, and colleagues, we stand firm in our belief that the choice to read leads to stronger readers, critical thinkers, lifelong learners, and empathetic citizens essential to our democracy. By prioritizing diverse literature and honoring the principle of choice, we equip our students with the tools they need to navigate in an increasingly complex world. Let us continue to advocate for our students' right to read freely and for the crucial role of educators and librarians in this process. Again, this was from Carrie Betts, the MASL president.
Thank you. Next we have Jen, followed by Brandy, and then Dr. Dan.
Good evening. For the record, I copied off of nobody, but you'll hear a lot of the same comments. So good evening. I stand before you with a differing perspective from a fellow community member that spoke last meeting related to banning of books in our high school. This is a subject that demands attention and consideration because it touches on the very essence of what it means to learn, to grow, and understand the world around us. Firstly, let's acknowledge the vital role that parents play in the education of their children. It's the responsibility of the parent to guide their children's reading choices and to instill values and beliefs that they hold dear. However, this guideline should not be applied to the whole student body. As each family has their own values and beliefs, it is not a one-size-fits-all. When we ban books, we're not protecting our children. We're actually limiting access to diverse perspectives and ideas and sheltering them from varied experiences that can help them grow into well-rounded, thoughtful, and empathetic individuals. I'm really nervous. If we start to ban free choice books from our school, do we also need to consider all content in required textbooks to ensure it aligns with every family's belief and values? I'm not thinking that's something we want to take on. One of the most critical aspects of education and parenting is to prepare our children for the real world. We need to ensure each student is prepared to have respectful, open discussions, both in the classroom and at home. When we encounter challenging or uncomfortable topics in literature, it presents an invaluable opportunity for dialogue. Maybe a student's not comfortable bringing it up and they can blame the book. Parents and teachers alike can use these moments to engage with students, to explore different viewpoints, and to foster critical thinking skills. By discussing these topics openly, we prepare our students to navigate a complex world with confidence, understanding, and empathy. We must recognize that being comfortable with discomfort is an essential part of personal growth. Books often serve as windows into the diversity and sometimes challenging realities of human experience. When we allow students to confront these realities through books, we equip them with the tools to face adversity, to question the status quo, and to develop resilience. Shielding them from discomfort only delays the inevitable. We all know as adults we face discomforts daily, and does a great disservice to the development as capable and compassionate members of society. In conclusion, I lost my spot. Let's not remove the ability for each student to choose the books that is right for them. Instead, let's us embrace the diversity of each student and allow exposure to all types of books. Let us empower parents to have meaningful discussions at home and encourage students to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. By doing so, we'll cultivate a generation of thinkers, leaders, and change makers who are prepared to contribute positively to our system. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Brandy, Dan, and then Melissa.
Good evening. My name is Brandy Palmer. I have 2 students in the Caledonia school system, neither of whom is an avid reader, which I'm very, very sad about. So I'm here to read you a letter from the president of the Michigan Library Association. It is a long letter. We will see how far we get. Dear Superintendent Waldreyer and Caledonia Community Schools Board of Education, libraries fill a role central to any functioning democracy, upholding the rights of citizens to read, seek information, and speak freely as guaranteed by the First Amendment. And in the spirit of that role, we owe it to every citizen of Michigan to make sure there is material of interest to them on our library shelves. Throughout Michigan and our nation, there is an unprecedented uptick in material challenges at our schools and in our public libraries. These challenges primarily target books that bring focus to race, gender, and/or LGBTQIA+ topics. It has come to our attention that individuals in your district are challenging the book Always Running from being a choice book offered to high schoolers and will be on the Board of Education agenda tonight. While censorship is nothing new, the Michigan Library Association is addressing this outbreak of challenges as a constitutional issue. Because disagreements of opinion are inevitable, material challenges are a fact of life in education and librarianship, and that is the reason the reconsideration process is formalized. MLA recommends that your collection development policy and formal reconsideration process be followed with precision by anyone wishing to bring a title to your attention that they consider to be unconventional, unpopular, or unacceptable. Implementation of your policies is foundational to transparency, credibility, and trustworthiness. MLA does not endorse limiting access to any book prior to a formal challenge or before the conclusion of the reconsideration process. It is important to note the precedent set by the U.S. Supreme Court on this topic. In 1982, the court determined that removing books from a school because certain people simply disliked the ideas contained in those books violated the First Amendment rights of students. Simply put, if a board decides to remove materials from their library's collection or disable the ebook collection based on subject matter, they are putting the library and/or school at risk of lawsuits alleging unconstitutionality. As champions of access, we want to make clear that we wholeheartedly recognize that individuals have the right and responsibility to make decisions about what materials are suitable for themselves and for their own families. We also stand united in our belief that no one has the right to make rules restricting what other people read or to make decisions for other families. Perhaps this is why we see success in opt-out alternatives for those parents who do not wish their children to view certain texts. I'm going to skip to the end because we're at 14 seconds. We know that you stand as stalwart ambassadors in putting the needs of your students first through your time, your energy, and your resources. We commend you on making them your #1 priority and ask that you affirm your students' First Amendment rights as enshrined in our Constitution as a vital part of your mission. As you work towards solving the problems that individuals in your district bring to you, we urge you to uphold the rights of all the students and families you serve, including those who see value in material that others may find objectionable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Dan, followed by Melissa.
Well, good evening. It's really good to be here and address the school board. I'm thankful for the opportunity. My name is Dr. Dan Farnell, and I'm here to say a word about Title IX. And before I do, I'd just like to introduce myself. I pastored here in the Caledonia district for 20 years. Also, my son was a graduate of Caledonia High and involved in the sports program. And my wife drove bus for the Caledonia district for quite some time until she retired a few years ago. I have a great love for young people. Usually you can find me at sporting events and events, not only in Caledonia, but wherever my young people in my church would play. After retirement, I coached in another district as a volunteer in basketball for junior high basketball for young ladies and also 5th and 6th grade. So I have a great concern for them, I have a great love for them. And of course, being a pastor, I not only want to build in educational and life skills into their life, but I also wanted to build in spiritual values that I think almost everybody in our Caledonia area and community would embrace. So tonight I wanted to come and just say a word about Title IX. I have been concerned about some of the things that it might teach, might represent, might bring into our community. And I would like to say, as I interact with dozens and dozens and dozens of people, I find that some of those values are not the values that I am hearing from throughout the community. So thank you for allowing me to share tonight. I appreciate it very much, and may God truly bless Caledonia Public Schools and the people and the students that use it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Melissa.
Thank you. I don't normally do public speaking and not as eloquent as Dr. Dan is. I did not include in this that I have 4 children that's gone through Caledonia Community Schools, got an outstanding education, and all got grown adults and are doing very well in life and in the work world. I have 6 of my grandchildren. They're now currently in the system, and the oldest is a 7th grader. And which brings me to the topic that I have. And now I have to read. Thank you for letting me address the board. I'm here because I was unable to attend last month's meeting. When I went on YouTube, as I do, to watch the board meetings, it came across with YouTube's parental warning about the harmful content. It came to the point where a parent addressing you about written material made available to students in the school was unable to hear, censored by our own school district, being warned by YouTube and censored by our school as it goes against, and I quote what a sitting board member said, "Language like the one in the passage read aloud goes against the policy, which is a social media policy." I reached out to the individual who read it, and they shared the passage that was read. I, as a community member, would like to know what has been done, what has been put in place to protect young minds since you've learned this. Clearly, by the school having social media standards that it could not be shared, we do believe in protecting things from public and individual access, including our children. The material that was available to freshmen can travel home on a bus with children that are in 5th grade and expose them, like my grandson, or with their friends whose parents don't approve of this material. We are to protect all Caledonia students from inappropriate materials for their age. I'm against the banning of books or burning of books. It's wrong to use scare tactics like that to make your point. This is about our school district taking measures to be sure that all materials that are within our district are age appropriate. And this material that I read was not age appropriate for young maturing minds and not of adult age. I agree, every parent has the right to let your children have access to whatever you choose, but that is the parent's responsibility to introduce. It is not the school's decision nor one teacher. It was stated by the same sitting board member that this should have not been brought to the attention of the board last month since it had been resolved and they had no right to speak of it. I don't believe in censorship, and I strongly disagree with that statement. It was her child personally affected, and it brought it to the attention of the community. What has been behind hidden doors or closed doors. Those who either have no children in high school or no children, just grandchildren, we are out of the loop to stand up for our district's education. I'm gonna take some more time. I feel our district needs to take steps to review materials that teachers are submitting to our students for choice reading or any other reading. I see by what's happened, I have little faith with those who already introduced it to make the decision on this matter. They've shown they can't see what is inappropriate material for the student's age. Protecting the children is not antagonistic to teachers or anti-teacher. The students are the priority. We are here for the safety and well-being of the students. Teachers work for us that have our children throughout the day. The children are always first. The children are the parents, not the schools. I care about teachers. My family is a family of educators, so this is not foreign to me. I also know their top priority was giving the best educational opportunity at their age level, and that should be ours. I really appreciate that you listened to me, and I would anticipate a public response to what's been happening. Because if not, we don't get to hear only what's chattered on the social media pages. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. I realize public comment is not easy, and no matter how many times you practice your 3 minutes at home, it never works out like that here, so thank you to all of you for taking time to be here. We are at this time gonna move to 6, which is our consent agenda. We have the September 16th, 2024 meeting minutes, October 10th, 2024 committee of the whole minutes, September 2024 payables, and October 2024 personnel report.
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
You have a second.
Second.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions on that, any corrections? Oh, could I please have roll call?
Brandau,
Yes.
Isich, yes, Morris,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sadoo,
Yes.
White.
Yes, motion carries, thank you. We are going to move to 7, which is superintendent report.
Thank you. There are a few real highlights to share with the board this month. First of all, this weekend was just not only a beautiful weekend weather-wise, but was a terrific weekend for our girls golf team who were in action up at the Catke Golf Course at Ferris State University. And we just were really thrilled to witness that they came back with their with a runner-up position at the Division I state finals. That's the highest finish that our girls golf program has had since way back in 2002 when we won the Division II championship. So this now was in Division I. So just a fabulous performance. Our senior Copeland O'Crangley, she finished 3rd in the state individually as well. With a 2-day total of 152. That's she was just 6 strokes out of first place in the entire state. So fabulous job by all the young ladies there on the girls golf team. Also, it was a week before that the equestrian team finished in 2nd place as well in the state. So congratulations to them as well. Our Caledonia Marching Band also enjoyed a great weekend this last weekend as they finished 1st in Class A at the Invitational at Granville High School this past Saturday with their Billy Joel themed show, so congratulations to them. And also last week we had 64 new members inducted into the National Honor Society, so that is also a tremendous thing to celebrate, and that brings our total in the NHS at the high school to 141 members, so wonderful there. And then finally, just one update that I know may be of some concern to folks. There is news of a meat recall going on, and there have been a few questions raised about whether any of that was involved in. So pleased to report that Caledonia did not purchase any of the products that were subject to the meat recall, so that's all good. It was about 200 schools nationwide apparently that had some of that product, so just wanted to update you on that, and that's all for me this evening.
Thank you, and obviously those events kept you busy, so we appreciate you attending, so. Anyway, on to 8, new business. 8A is our audit presentation and budget update.
So it's always nice to have this time come where we've completed a fiscal year and an audit. And tonight we have Ian Reese joining us from Gaybridge and Company who performed our audit. So I'm gonna turn it over to Ian. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ian. I was one of the auditors who worked through the school's audits. And so I will go over the opinion we gave on the reports, kind of go over some of the financial highlights for this fiscal year comparing to the previous fiscal year, and then answer any questions that anybody has. So, and if you have any questions while I'm going through it, just let me know. So the audit opinion, you received an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. It's the best opinion you could have received. So in essence, you passed the audit and there were no control findings, so nothing you could have done better. So kudos to everybody involved. The financial highlights, your school's fund balance across all the governmental funds, which is all of your funds as of June 30, which is your fiscal year end for anybody in the crowd that doesn't know, was 79 million, a little bit under 79 million. It was an increase of about 29 million over the previous fiscal year. That's largely due to you issuing a bunch of bonds, therefore you get a lot more cash. Your general fund had an ending fund balance of 12 million about, it was an increase of about 1.7 million. Your unassigned or unrestricted fund balance was 11.7 million, and that equates to about 16.4% of your annualized expenditures. So if you didn't receive any cash after the fiscal year, and you'd survive about 16% of it, so it's you have enough cash to get a few months down the road. This is until you get all of your new money back in. This is your kind of a graph that goes year over year. The blue line is your unassigned fund balance. The orange line is your total fund balance in your general fund. The gray box is your general fund expenditures year over year. So you can see that you're pretty similar year over year to your fund balance versus expenditures. The blue line is your unassigned fund balance as a percentage of your total expenditures and transfers out. Total fund balance, not unassigned fund balance. And the yellow line is your unassigned fund balance as a percentage. So you can see pretty typical year over year, it's kind of similar. This is going to be a little bit harder to read, but this is your statement of net position. I'm going to go over kind of the larger changes year over year. So your cash, the top line increased from 47 million to 82 million or 83 million. Your capital assets, a little bit down, increased from 142 million to 166 million. You now have a net pension or net OPEB asset, which means that you now have more money in your OPEB fund, the MIPSR's OPEB fund, than what you owe. That fluctuates year over year, but now you have an asset instead of a liability. Your net pension liability, if you scroll down a little bit more to the liability section, I didn't mean scroll, I just meant look down. 113 million decreased to 98 million or 99 million. Not much you can do about the liability, it's all part of the MIPSR's plan. Your long-term debt increased from 147 million to 190 million because you issued a bunch of bonds. And all of that boils down into your ending net position of you have a deficit of 52 million that you've consistently decreased year over year. And it's largely due to you having liabilities on your books that you can't really affect because you're in a cost pool of MIPSR's. This is your statement of activities. It shows your revenues and your expenses for the year. You had an increase in your operating grants and contributions, mainly state aid. Unrestricted state aid increased from 32 million to 33 million. Property taxes increased from 26 million to 29 million, or almost 30 million, and you had a pretty significant increase in your investment earnings due to the interest rates increasing for the year. Expenditures stayed pretty similar year over year, and it's largely built up of salaries as well as whatever else you budgeted. Pension, very similar to what I went over before. Your share of the pension liability was 98 million. Your share of the OPEB liability or asset now is 1.7 million. You can see all the covered payroll and the percentages of your covered payroll and so on and so forth. But the gross liability is what matters the most. You don't have to read all this, but it's basically for your federal audit specifically. You received no findings on your federal audit. It was related to your ESSER funds. We went through everything and we found nothing wrong with any of your ESSER funding related stuff. So you received an unmodified opinion for your federal audit specifically, which is a separate audit from the regular audit. So you passed that as well. Questions on anything?
Any questions?
just a congratulations to Sarah for the ESER audit. We've never done one like this before, so. I mean, we have over the years, but now it's over, so. Congratulations.
Yeah, which will be nice for me too. Any other questions?
No, thank you. We appreciate your time put into it, and Sarah and team, all the work that you do to keep us in the right space financially, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, have a great night. You're welcome to stay if you want to stay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we are gonna move to 8B. Oh, no, we're not, sorry, I forgot about your board, sorry.
I know, and yes, we are,
Sorry, I forgot.
so it was great to have the ESER funds, but yes, that was a lot of work on our auditors as well as us, so it is nice to actually kind of see those ending. It'll make life a little easier in that sense.
Did he take it?
Okay, so I just wanted to give a quick update. How does the final audit, like what does that look like with our budgets and where are we sitting? So I'm gonna give just a brief update, but I'd like to start with a recap of our fiscal year 24, which we just ended. So as a recap, the biggest part of our funding is from the state with our foundation allowance. So last year we received $458 per pupil. So that allowance we're receiving is $9,608 per pupil. We also saw an increase in enrollment last year of 100 FTE from the fall of 2022 to the fall of 2023. And remember when we spoke about this was largely due to our shared time program. Unfortunately, it still is below where we were pre-COVID. Also, ESSER expenditures, so this was the last year. We spent $2.6 million in there, so you'll see ESSER 3, we spent $325,000, and that was in the area mostly of mental health supports. And then ESSER 11T, we spent $2.3 million, and that was in the area of summer school programming, after school programming, interventionists, and ELL stands for English Language Learners. With that, those funds are ending September 30, 2024, so that period has ended. So you'll see a small amount when we go through 24-25 fiscal year, a small amount to finish the summer school programming. Also last year, we created the Capital Improvement Fund, and we transferred $50,000 from our general fund, and that was to help support our 2020 and 2023 bond projects. And if you recall, that was to enable us to not pay prevailing wage on those particular projects, and then that will extend those bond dollars a little further. We also started to anticipate how funding was going to be more of a concern, looking out beyond like fiscal year 26 and beyond, so started to pay attention to that. We also then did not make a transfer to our public improvement fund last year. We knew that ESSER funds were going to be eliminated and ending. We were also anticipating this current fiscal year, we were projecting a shortfall. And also we were projecting in future years state revenues that were going to be dropping off, or at least not keeping up with our rising projected costs. So we ended the year in our general fund at $73.2 million in revenues, $71.5 million in expense, so that ended us with a positive 1.6, almost 1.7 million being added to fund balance, which leaves our fund balance in totality at just over 12 million, which is 16.9% of expenditures. So we have, this will go on our website and linked here, that budget comparison. It will show our ending fiscal year ending audit from fiscal year 22, and then each budget throughout this past fiscal year, and then ending with our final audit numbers. I'm not gonna throw it up tonight because it's a big spreadsheet. So then, looking at fiscal year 25, the current year that we're in, so we're always really looking at a couple different budgets. So last spring, we started anticipating this year's budget. So that was in March, we presented to the board our forecasted budget that was looking at about a 4.7 million deficit. We had a lot of work, conversations that were happening between March all the way through August. The goal was to adopt a budget that did not drop us below 13%. So work was being done to make that happen. We did continue to eliminate positions that trying to get us back to those pre-COVID levels as much as possible. We also knew that we were likely to end the fiscal year in a positive, so we also took that into account, so we did not over-eliminate positions unnecessarily. We had to also adopt a budget in June, and when we adopted that budget, we didn't know the state's budget yet. So at the end of June, the state ended up coming out with their budget, and it was very different than we had anticipated. So they froze the foundation allowance and ended up giving rebates on the MIPSR's OPED UAAL, which is a little more complicated, but we brought that back to the board in August, what that kind of looks like. We also continued to do a little more budget work. We made some additions in the areas of academics and security. And in that August board meeting, we had an updated budget, which ended with $70.3 million in total revenue, $72 million in expense, which is right now projecting a shortfall of $1.7 million coming out of fund balance. When you factor in our audited fund balance that we just had and put that into the equation, we would then be ending the year at $10.2 million, which is 14.3% of expenditures. So we're in a better place. We'll look to kind of bring an updated budget amendment, hoping in December, to see what that looks like as we plan and prep for future years. So are there any questions?
I tried to let you off the hook before you got to the fun stuff. So anybody have any questions for Sarah in all of this? No? I think we're good. Thank you very much. We appreciate the updates on all of this. All right, now we are really going to move to 8B, which is our stadium renovation post-bid informational report.
This will be the fun stuff then.
That will be the fun stuff.
Good evening. As part of the 2023 bond, stadium renovations were put out to an RFP with a product designed by Tower Pinkster Architects and is going to be construction managed by Rockford Construction. Both of these are vendors we've worked with throughout the 2020 bond, and we're quite pleased with their work. Rockford was able to publish the RFP, and at the bid opening, we had a total of 110 bidders participating. This is just phenomenal and excellent as compared to some of the recent projects that we've had over the past couple of years, and it's great to see the industry really coming back hard and getting back in the game. So it's really nice. 22 work categories were represented. They were all opened on October 8th. And just to make a few clarifications on some of the numbers you're going to be seeing as this goes to the reading of the motion. There were several vendors in the report that were not the low bidder. That is because they either failed to provide proper documentation in bid bonds or required certifications, or who provided bids based on improper scope or unaccepted alternative equipment. So from the ranges that we were able to supply at the committee level, you may see that some of the numbers are not the lows. That is because just bids came in unacceptable and were reviewed as unacceptable, or they just couldn't complete the work. There were a number of alternates that were presented by Rockford in the RFP, including sidewalk on the west side of the parking lot, handicapped accessible concrete path and patio work, as well as work involving site work and paving for field events. Based on the excellent pricings we've received, all of those were included in these base price bids that you see. So all of the alternates are included. There were also a number of voluntary alternates, and where those were evaluated, considered, and accepted, they have also been included in these bid awards for the vendors. The total bond impact is $10,067,184 coming from bond 2023. I realize that the documentation still says bond 2020 and 2023. That's because much of the stadium work was split over both of those bonds. These funds are specific to 2023, so I'll add that as a correction to my documentation. which I didn't catch on the way in. So, are there any questions regarding the work categories or any of the numbers presented there? Or anything else on this one?
Start with Katie.
I sent an email earlier today asking if that food service stuff, if we could maybe use it to spend down our balance.
Yeah, so I didn't have a chance to get a definitive answer to that, but I do not believe that's gonna be possible because that food service balance comes with the federal funds designated for the school lunch program, so it's a good idea, but I don't think that that's gonna work because this is a concession stand and not gonna be
I
serving.
figured as much, but I was crossing my fingers.
Yeah, so I don't have any more information for you than that.
How many of the bidders are new bidders to the district?
Quite a few. I would say probably about 30-40%. The scope is definitely larger in all categories. I haven't seen a bid with, I believe it was 12 electricians in probably all of my career. So it was nice to see that. It was nice to see a larger group.
Good, thanks, just curious.
Additional questions? Jason?
Just because it tickles my brain, what are the missing work category numbers? They're not entirely sequential.
Yeah, work categories are actually assigned, like, I won't use the acronym, they're a formal system of assignment. So if one's missing, it's just something we're not using in this project. Work category 1, I think, is design and development, so we're beyond that, so we didn't need any of that. So it's just stuff that we don't need.
Any other questions? Certainly, it's great to see that all alternates are included in this. That was a phenomenal turnaround of where we thought we could be, so additional.
Yeah, and I just thank the whole team who worked on this so hard over many months and trying to get this put together, and just really gratifying that the bids came in so well, so really under budget by quite a bit. And so the whole project at this point looks like it's gonna be coming in significantly under budget, so we're extremely pleased with that.
When you looked at the bids as a whole, may I ask, were all bids fairly competitive, or were there, assuming that all was included in the bids, were things pretty comparable?
Yeah, I think once we got past some of the outliers that were missing information and missing paperwork and things like that, we saw that most of the bid categories came in very close. Of those 12 electricians, I would say that 8 of them were within a few $1,000s of each other, which is, again, that's an impressive credit to Rockford for their spec and their scope of work that they published.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else?
Nope, I wanted to share the budget. I wanted to make sure that Mr. Wilder got an opportunity to do that, so.
Well, you can certainly do it.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move at this point in time to 9, which are our action items. We have 9A, 2023-2024 audit.
I move that the board approve the June 30, 2024 audit as conducted by Gaybridge and Company.
We have a second.
I'll support that.
Thank you. Any further questions on the audit? Can I please have roll call?
Nichols,
Yes.
Sadoo,
Yes.
Brandow,
Yes.
Isich, yes, Morris,
Yes.
White.
Yes, motion carries. On to 9B, section 127 plan.
I move that the board approve the adoption of a section 127 plan for the purpose of reimbursing employees under section 27K of the State School Aid Act.
Support.
Thank you, Jen. Are there any further questions on this? All right, could I please have roll call?
Isich, yes, Brandow,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Sadoo,
Yes.
White.
Yes, motion carries. To 9C, Cal Community Center furniture package.
I move that the board approve the purchase of office furnishings and installation for the Cal Community Center from Custer Office Furniture at a total cost of $86,423.22.
I have a second.
Support.
Thank you, Tim. Any further questions for the furniture package? Could I please have roll call?
Brandau,
Yes.
Isich, yes, Morris,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Sadu,
Yes.
White.
Yes, motion carries. 9D, Kettle Lake Paving, design through bidding.
I move that the board enter into a contract with Structure Tech Group for the design through bidding phases of the 2023 bond project Kettle Lake Paving.
I have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Any further questions on this? Could I please have roll call?
Morris,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Brandau,
Yes.
Sadu,
Yes.
Isich, yes, White.
Yes, motion carries.
President White, before we move to the contract awards, I think there was one clarification I'd like to make, that in these contract awards, they are coming from both 2020 and 2023 funds. So
Okay.
in making a motion to approve these various bidders, I would recommend that we include both 2020 and 2023 bond funds in that motion.
Would you like it reread that way?
I think that's coming up here in number E.
We haven't read that yet.
Letter E.
Oh, I thought you meant it was for Kettle Lakes as well.
No.
Okay, I'm with you now. All right. And you got that?
I got it, but
Okay.
take a break because this is gonna be a lot of it.
Okay, all right. 9E, stadium renovation contract awards.
I move that the board approve Rockford Construction Company to initiate contracts for the renovation of the Caledonia Schools Stadium from the 2020 and 2023 bond funds for the following bid categories and amounts. Work category number 2, demolition pitch company for $59,900. Work category number 3, concrete Vanland Concrete, $698,755. Work category number 4, masonry Brugrave Masonry, $1,114,135. Work category number 5, structural steel Van Dellen Steel, $579,700. Work category number 6, general trades JKB Construction, $614,765. Work category number 7, roofing McHalen Roofing Inc., $323,400. Work category number 7.1, metal panels and standing seam roofing reliable sheet metal, $159,600. Work category number 8, glass and glazing Grand Valley Glass, $301,175. Work category number 9, metal studs and ACT JKB Construction, $90,163. Work category 9.1, ceramic tile, Sobe Company Inc., $53,025. Work category 9.2, painting, Vork Brothers, $59,960. Work category number 13, bleachers, Dant Clayton, $2,585,000. Work category 14, track surfacing, Star Trek. Sorry. $60,000. Work category number 20, food service equipment, Stafford Smith Inc., $201,921. Work category 21, fire suppression, Grand Rapids Fire Protection, $85,855. Work category 22, plumbing, Advantage Mechanical, $537,500. Work category number 23, mechanical, R&R Mechanical, $521,475. Work category number 26, electrical, Shoreline Power Services, $1,066,344. Work category 31, site work and excavation, Roland Excavating, $675,691. Work category 32, asphalt paving, light load, $89,135. Work category 32, fencing, Fence Consultants of West Michigan, $148,000. Work category 32.3, landscaping, landscape design services, $41,685.
Very nicely done. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Katie, you're good. You got the change of 2020 and 2023 in the wording. Okay. All right. Any questions on any of that? All right, can we please have roll call?
Sadu,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Isich, yes, Brandau,
Yes.
White.
Yes, motion carries. On to 9F, strategic plan.
I move that the board approve the strategic plan goals and strategies as presented.
I have a second.
Second it.
Thank you, Katie.
So I'd like to give you an overview of the where things stand at this point on the strategic plan and just to review those things. We reviewed these at committee. We made a couple of adjustments since that time. And of course, these things were greatly influenced by a whole variety of various inputs. And so just to recap where we came from, we've talked about embarking upon a real attitude of continuous improvement, being that's going to foster our best work. This was the roadmap to strategic refresh that we've talked about for the last several months. And so here today we are at in October presenting this new strategic plan refresh to you. We've had a number of engagement opportunities as we've talked about through the last several months between surveys, over 3,000 surveys, a whole host of town hall sessions, and then other opportunities for folks to provide input. And so here's where we are as of today. And so it all begins with our mission, and this has been our mission statement for a while here at Cal, and it certainly drives the work that we do. And then coming out of our previous strategic plan, and then in our conversation at the committee meeting and through various other discussions and input that we've received, we were really focusing coming out with these, what had been 4 strategic plan areas, teaching and learning, whole child, whole community, and then the last 2, as we went through the whole process and heard feedback from town halls and more internal discussion, really felt like there was a lot of overlap in the last 2 areas, which were financial sustainability and organizational coherence and systemic improvement. And so we have kind of molded that into these strategic priorities, which are going to be our work moving forward. And so what you see here are our priorities, our cultures that we are going to be looking to continue to improve as we go through the next period here with our new strategic plan, and then the goal statements under each. So I'll just read them a second. Culture of educational excellence at Caledonia Community Schools will facilitate rigorous and standards-aligned educational experiences that promote continuous improvement and success for all students. Those who are at strategic plan meetings and town halls will see that has shrunk and cleaned up quite a bit. We'll show you some more of that in a minute. The second one, a culture of connections and community. So that Caledonia Schools will cultivate a welcoming and engaging environment for all that nurtures the whole child and strengthens connections both within the school and across the broader community. And then finally, the third one, which is where we thought we could squeeze those 2 together, a culture of stewardship and sustainability. Caledonia Schools will support district programming with a continuous commitment to responsible stewardship, fiscal sustainability, systemic improvement, and long-term planning. So those are the 3 priority areas, and coming out of our last committee meeting, that was kind of the work that was done. So here then is what we're asking to be approved tonight, and to keep in mind that this is the first step. We will then take these goals and strategies if approved tonight, and then the next thing will be that we will be providing action steps and further discussion with the board on that, as well as measures to make sure we keep track of how well we're doing in these things, and that we are achieving the things that we're setting out to achieve. So this is the first framework, kind of like a skeleton. We're putting the basic framework out there, and then we will keep adding things to it. And as we discussed at the committee meeting, I certainly view a strategic plan as a living, breathing document that we can continue to work on as we move forward. But this is where we stand as of now in October 2024. So I read that goal statement to you just a short time ago for the first cultural area here, the culture of educational excellence. So strategies identified here are to implement a district-wide instructional framework that creates a foundation for all learners to succeed. So focus on our base instruction. And then secondly, develop a robust system of support and extended learning opportunities. So both supporting students who may need a little extra assistance along the way, as well as providing additional learning opportunities for those students who have got it and need additional challenges. And then the third thing, to improve and standardize our communication between home and school. So all three of those strategies underwent quite a bit of refinement after our town hall period. And we really listened to the feedback that we got through that, where people really wanted to see some simplification of the language in there, and we tried to do that. I recognize there's still some edgy wonky stuff in there, but we hope that that's simpler. And there was a lot of discussion about communication between home and school, and so we really wanted to wrap that in. Previously, communication had almost been kind of a standalone thing. We really felt it made more sense to be wrapping that into these different cultures, and so you'll see that a little bit. So that's the first one, the culture of educational excellence. Any questions on that at this point, or shall I just keep rolling? Good, all right. The second one would be the culture of connections and community. Again, I read that goal a few moments ago. The strategies would be to create a positive learning environment for all students. So continuing to work on that. It's something that the district's been focused on quite a bit over the last few years with our Capturing Kids' Hearts initiatives and other items like that. But it's certainly work that's never done. And we want to continue to work on the positivity, the environment, so that all kids feel loved, welcomed, and feel ready to learn. Secondly, a diverse range of co-curricular opportunities for kids, so that we try to meet kids wherever they may be and provide a bunch of different things, not just one sort of area of co-curriculars but that we offer an entire range of different opportunities for students. Third, a commitment to grow community engagement and partnerships. We have been doing some work on this. Evidence of this was this SME Prime grant that we've talked about from last year, and then some other ways that we envision moving forward in this area. There had been some work really heading into COVID time period, and that's kind of thrown a little interruption in some of that, so we really want to focus on getting back to expanding those partnerships. And then finally, continue building community learning opportunities. Cal Schools is somewhat unique among school districts in the amount of connection that we provide for our adults in the community. And especially with the Cal Community Center coming online here in the next couple of months, that's going to certainly involve us working through some new areas and new opportunities for folks. And so that's involved in that strategy. So that's kind of the area there that we try to look at what used to be called the whole child and whole community, just how we can wrap all of those things together. And then finally, the final of these three cultures then, the stewardship and sustainability. Again, we talked about the goal just a minute ago, but the strategies here make sure our district expenditures align with the Board of Ed's goals and priorities, and that enables us to provide resources for the optimal delivery of education and services. Secondly, then, to make sure our financial processes maintain best practices, have fiscal accountability, and that we explore options for broadening the district's revenue base. It was not that long ago that Caledonia schools received more on a per pupil basis than many of our fellow area districts. That has changed, and now Caledonia receives the same as other districts. And in fact, with some of the other funding that's available based on certain other demographic factors, Caledonia Schools actually receives proportionally less in some of those areas. So it's an area that the district needs to continue to look at as we want to deliver the highest quality product for our students in our community. And so we need to continue to look at how we can do that. Third is to review and update our long-range planning. So looking at our district growth, our long-range capital needs, our facilities, major purchases, and then other needs, including evaluating elementary school boundaries. And so that's something that we've talked about a few times now, the fact that our New Dutton Elementary, when it comes online, is not within its own attendance boundary. And so we're going to need to be looking at how we do that moving forward. Again, that will not be something where we force current students from the elementary that they're in, but how we look to transition that. And so we will
be embarking upon that work moving forward, pending approval of this plan. And then fourth is that we continue to assess and improve our district safety and security procedures. And then finally, that we enhance our coherence and ease of access to, again, our communications and information. Again, a big part of the feedback, a lot of the feedback at the town halls was the district is really working hard to communicate. We have a ton of communication out there, but that sometimes it's almost overwhelming, and how can we focus that and make it accessible for everyone to easily get to stuff they need, and that's gonna take some continued work. So those are the areas in those three cultures that we are proposing to you tonight. And then just so that you see everything that's coming, so this would be tonight's steps with the first approval of this, and then we continue to build out our action steps aligned with these strategies, and then we develop our methods to measure the progress. And then we'd be looking for board goals as well through this process, because the board also will want to be setting its own goals, each school year. And then as we go, as I mentioned, it's a continuous improvement accountability model, so that we can continue to tweak things as we go. We don't have to wait for the end of a period, a given 5 years or whatever, to address things, and we can continue to be mobile and change things as they go, and therefore monitor and adjust as necessary. And then just finally, we have this kind of getting ready to roll. This will be a one-page reference document that would go up on the website once we feel comfortable and we're ready to go with that. So that's an overview of what we're asking you to approve tonight. Questions?
Any questions?
I'll just say, I do like the effort that we're putting into adding measurements to these goals. I think we can always do a better job with that, and glad you brought that up in the presentation. Thank you.
I do want to say thank you though to our entire team. I know that districts have an option in how they do this. Sometimes people hire it out by an outside firm who comes in and does it, which still obviously requires time and effort. But the fact that this is the second time around we've had a superintendent who's been willing to tackle that himself, with a team of people, an army of people behind him to make all of this work. But it really is an incredible process to sit through, to listen to the conversations that are happening, to understand maybe what we're already doing that people just don't know about, what we need to do better, what we're not doing, just to hear the ideas that are out there. It's a great learning experience, and it takes a ton of time to put all of this together and to come up with this. So thank you very much for the effort by all of you that went into this, and for our community that's here that attended. I know I've seen some faces that were at the community town halls, and staff that were there as well. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you bringing that up, and really like to thank two folks who were really especially right there helping through this process. That's Michelle Zoet and Kelly Clark. Where did Kelly go? She's way in the back corner. So really, they did just a whale of a job and made it totally possible, because appreciate what you said about me, but this is not necessarily a thing I have as a strength of mine, is to organize and develop all these things. And so just their work, and then the input of our whole team, our cabinet, and other staff members. So it's a team effort. It's a team effort.
And I've been on the board a long time. I've seen this done more than one way, and Michelle's been right there, and Daryl, we've walked down this road too, and you see the difference in what comes out of it when you really take it on and tackle it and make it your own from the beginning, as opposed to somebody else working on a product and give it to you. So I really appreciate the effort that's gone into this, again, to see this happen. So thank you to everybody. All right, can we please have roll call?
Sadoo?
Yes.
Randall?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Isich, yes. Nichols?
Yes.
White?
Yes, motion carries. On to more work now on that one. So we are going to move to 9G, which is January organizational and regular meeting date.
I move that the board establish January 27, 2025 at 6 p.m. as the organizational and regular meeting date.
I have a second. Second. Thank you. Any questions on that date? All right, can we please have roll call?
Morris,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Sadoo,
Yes.
Isich, yes, White.
Yes, motion carries. We will now move to 10, which is our discussion items. These are anticipated consideration for November. We first have 10A, insulin litigation.
All right, I'll speak to that just real briefly as we, there's been a little bit of discussion about this. We'll discuss this more in committee next month, but there is a host of educational institutions participating in litigation regarding insulin pricing that happened over the last basically quarter century. And so there in the Grand Rapids area, a number of school districts participating in this. And so we will be discussing this further, but just wanted to throw that out there so that we're all aware. And you were provided with a draft of the resolution that we'll be discussing next month.
Any questions on that? All right, thank you. We're gonna now move to 10B, which is the remodel of the former district administration offices.
Good evening, introducing this as a first reading tonight for further discussion at the committee and next month. In 2021, the district opened this building as a remodeled Glenmore Alternative High School into the administrative building. The space that was vacated has been idle since that time. Number of different concepts have risen to the surface. We proposed one to the point of bidding a prior plan that came back very costly. And with very little overall benefit long-term to the district. So that was left to be, and it has had ever since. We've been working on a proposal to renovate a portion of the space, about 2/3 of it, for use by the Caledonia Community Resource Center. This would not only provide them a secure entrance into the building, which would not allow Resource Center attendees into Duncan Lake, so it would provide security to that, but it would also provide several classrooms to the Duncan Lake Middle School facility, which they sorely need as well. So overall, I think this is a win-win. This also provides new space eventually for the ECC as the YMCA moves into the other 1/3 of that space with no changes. So there's a pretty good plan in place. Again, Tower Pinkster Architects designed it and issued an RFP for a general contractor. We did receive 2 bids and they were opened. I have not put a dollar figure in here because we have not received the full and final evaluation from Tower Pinkster's team at this time. So we're just waiting on that and we'll communicate that information as soon as possible.
No matter which the plan is, though, it does then secure the building totally, whichever way it's being used.
Absolutely, yes. That space is completely cut off, security wise from the rest of Duncan Lake Middle School, which is one of our great goals and it really will help.
That's the way I understood it, just wanted to verify.
I appreciate the question. Anybody who's been to the Caledonia Resource Center, the doors open into the hallway, so there would really be no barrier to prevent folks from going through. And additionally, attendees there often will use restroom facilities potentially out in the hallways, and we don't want to necessarily do that as well. So there will be 2 restrooms into this as part of this remodeling.
Perfect. Jason?
Yeah, as part of the Cal Community Center, I thought we were gonna move the resource center over to that building.
Yes, they are moving their offices, and they are going to have a large portion of their meeting space and their regular meeting space over there. As we know from scheduling their services, they occupy spaces all over the district. They occupy classrooms in just about every school, a lot in the high school especially, and Duncan Lake. So this will allow them to use less classroom space and less building space and keep a lot of their classes in that area as well. So they currently use far more than they have available at Duncan Lake. They will continue to use far more than they have available at the Cal Community Center.
Yeah, and then another thing, of course, with the Cal Community Center, it's not blessed with tons and tons of storage. And so there are some of the activities through the Resource Center that do require a lot of storage. And so some of those programs may remain in this new newly renovated space. So it's really providing them with many more options for them to use.
So as part of the renovation, they'll increase the amount of space they have available within our facility, and then they'll increase again, well, I'm assuming the community center will be done before this, so they'll increase with the community center, and then they'll increase again once this renovation is complete.
But they'll decrease their usage of classroom spaces and rental spaces in the rest of the district.
Okay.
Tim?
This is an interior renovation, is that correct?
Correct.
Has the roof been looked at?
Has the roof been looked at? Yes, that portion of the roof was evaluated when we did the entire building evaluation for roofing in the 2020 bond.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we're not renovating the inside without looking at the roof.
Correct, yeah, no, the exterior envelope was evaluated for the 2020 bond and that section is currently intact.
Good to hear.
Additional questions?
With regard to the space that they're using in other buildings, we're anticipating them that they would not occupy space within the high school, those activities would move?
They're gonna retreat. It's not a complete removal of their services. They still need gym spaces, they still need different activity spaces that they can't provide anywhere else. So they'll be bringing back some of that usage.
Will that make space available for another program within the high school would be the idea?
Wide open, yep, we're happy to look at any opportunities for people that wanna lease and rent space in our buildings.
Anything additional? Anything additional, Mr. Rutherford?
No.
Okay. Alright, thank you. Alright, at this point, we will move to 11, which is board comments. Do I have anything from board members? No? Alright. I just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Need a second?
Or
Got somebody down for supporting? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
I wanna say